And remember, if they offer you a really high price, it's because it's going to go even higher. I will not give them my XRP. Today we're going to talk about XRP becoming an eSDR. And in this video, we're going to tackle a series of questions, and here they are. What is an eSDR and what is it used for in the real world? What factors could make XRP ready and suitable to be considered as an eSDR? We're also going to dive into the process that the IMF follows when considering the issuance of a new asset. Also, where could the XRP used for the eSDR come from, considering that the token's already been issued outside of eSDR status? Also, how long does it typically take to decide whether an asset is an eSDR or not? What price movement might we see in XRP if it does become an eSDR? And the final thing, why none of that matters at all, for one simple reason that I'll keep right to the end. So let's define what an SDR is. An SDR is a special drawing right. An eSDR is essentially an electronic special drawing right. And these are controlled by the Intermonetary Fund, the IMF. Essentially what it is an international reserve asset, and it's created in order to supplement the member countries. And it's usually used like a currency or to get one of your member countries out of a financial disaster. And you do that in order to be able to provide them a source of liquidity. So I saw this document come out on the hoover.org website discussing all the factors about XRP that make it good as an eSDR. And these reasons also match with the reasons that the IMF look for in an eSDR. And this is really, really interesting. Let me list these out. The factors that are looked for when deciding if an asset should be an eSDR or not are stable price, it has to be secure, it has to have widespread adoption, it has to have regulatory clarity or compliance, and it has to have economic benefits. We're going to get into all of that later on in the video, but don't you find it interesting that XRP essentially does all of those things? It's supposed to be a stable price to function. It's extremely secure, as I covered in a previous video. We know adoption is going to be widespread and basically handle all the money in the world. We know that regulatory clarity is coming, and it has a massive economic benefit in the whole financial system. If XRP could demonstrate all of those things, all of those features, then it would then be considered for approval by the IMF as an eSDR. But it would need all of those things in place. Remember, there is one big piece of information that I've left out strategically until the end that we're going to get to that's going to really round off this whole argument. But in the meantime, I think it's quite important for you to actually see the process that IMF goes through in order to decide whether something is an SDR or an eSDR or not. So let's look at the process that the IMF has to go through in order to weed out assets that could never become an eSDR and ones that could. And it all begins with a proposal from the IMF's board. And basically the board members are responsible for making all of the decisions that the IMF push through. Arguably, the countries and those people who are representatives with IMF are some of the most powerful people in the world when it comes to finance. And if you narrow those people down even further to say the top 6 countries, you essentially have the 6 most powerful people in the world who make decisions on things like this. After the proposal has come in, the board will then review the proposal and ask questions about the proposal and then make their decision on whether the asset in question should be an eSDR. And as I said before, they're looking for stability, security, all of those things that I mentioned earlier in order to have like a checklist as they go down. Then if the executive board actually approve the proposal, they then present the proposal to the leaders of the member countries therein. So obviously, the higher up you are in this list of voting power that you have on the IMF, this is all actually on their website. It's actually a page saying imf.org/ basically voting power. You can see it, I've linked it below. So it shows the countries with the most voting power. So let's play a little game here. In the comments, before I continue, try to list the top 6 countries based on their voting power and don't cheat. So I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, we're back. The top countries, the top 6 countries with the most voting power as to whether something becomes an eSDR or not are the United States, Japan, China, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. In that order too. Each country has one representative and basically essentially makes the decisions financially for that country. The interesting thing is that dotted throughout that top 6, you have a wide range of sentiment towards cryptocurrency and regulation. They all want regulation, they all want big time regulation, all of the countries there. But some are more proactive with crypto, like the United Kingdom, and some are a little less proactive. And it's a real mixed bag in there. So just looking at those 6 members of the board, you can't really determine whether they're actually going to try and push through regulation for an eSDR, especially an XRP. So we don't know if XRP is going to be an eSDR based on the sentiment of those most powerful people, but it does tick the boxes of the requirements that XRP has to fulfill in order to become an eSDR. So this is interesting. So now we have to discuss where the XRP that would be used for the eSDR would come from. One of the options that they have is to actually buy it from the market. Now, that is the way it would typically be done, but the way that XRP is structured, you've got escrow, for example. Whether that is classified as buying on the market directly from Ripple, who knows, or whether that means buying from the public market. You'll see later on in the video why buying from the public market gets a little bit sticky, and so that can't be an option. Just based on those 2 options, whether we have the escrow or what's publicly available on the market, you have to side with the escrow in this instance. So one of my initial thoughts when I was getting into eSDRs was thinking, okay, if the IMF actually start the approval process of getting XRP in as an eSDR, how long does that take? What is that process like in order to pass all the regulations? They need to get consensus among all of the other IMF members. It seems like a process that would take quite a while. And from all of the research that I've done here, it's suggested anywhere between many months to many years as how long it takes for an eSDR to actually get pushed through. So if we were starting the approval process right now as it stands, we might be looking at 2025, 2026, 2027 by the time an eSDR status is actually established for XRP. And finally, what I want to do is now talk about the outcome in terms of the relation to price of XRP if it became an eSDR. And this is going to lead me into a real interesting situation here. Let's think about it. I'm going to have to bring in some information that I heard from Baggins on Twitter. And I think all he's done is taken a nail and slammed it into the coffin of the whole idea that XRP could be an eSDR. I'm going to let him do the talking.
I don't think XRP will be the eSDR because SDRs, special drawing rights, according to the IMF on the imf.org website, cannot be held by private entities or individuals. For this to happen, all governments and banks would have to reclaim all the XRP from individuals, and this presents a number of legal, logistical, and financial issues that just don't seem realistic at this time. In order for that to work, they would first have to declare XRP some form of special asset class that we don't know about yet, and give it a stable price. And only at that time, and only when not held by individuals or private entities, could it function in this manner, and I just don't think that's going to happen.
That's absolutely right. And this is the big factor that I had missed in my research. An eSDR cannot be owned by any individual or any private entity. And so in order for it to become an eSDR, they have to confiscate every single XRP in every single person's wallet. And so if they did take all of the XRP, the price would be irrelevant because it would make no difference to me or to you. The price would go to wherever they need it to go to handle all of the world's finance, but we would be completely left out in that instance. And this is the single reason why XRP cannot be an eSDR. Some of you could give in to that and give your XRP back, but it's impossible to become an eSDR because I will not give them my XRP. And if XRP is going to be an eSDR, they would have to take every single token that exists in every wallet on the blockchain. And I'm not giving up mine, so I could be the sole reason why XRP could never become an eSDR, because I simply will not give my XRP away, not even for a really high price. And remember, if they offer you a really high price, it's because it's going to go even higher.
That they may take our lives, but they'll never take
XRP.
Jimmy Valley mentioned something with Molly Elmore the other day on her podcast, but essentially saying it's actually illegal to take XRP from people without telling them what they believe the actual value of that XRP is. If people were really told what the value of XRP is when they're buying it back from you for less, you're not going to give them your XRP at that point, right? You're not going to give in to that because they have to tell you legally how much it's going to be worth in the future, or that they stand to make profit from this purchase. And so for that reason, that closes the door on this whole idea of XRP being an eSDR. While it meets the requirements for stability, security, all of those things, it is simply not possible, in my opinion, for them to take every single XRP token from every wallet from around the blockchain. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive research about eSDRs, and potentially you already knew this about eSDRs, but I bet you didn't know the process that it takes and the criteria that the IMF used to decide whether something is an eSDR. So I think we've all learned something here. Every single time I do a video like this, I also post an article version of the video with the links all integrated in on my Patreon and YouTube members areas. You can consider joining as a member on YouTube or Patreon for just £3 a month, both giving you access to these research articles and access to the community and to discuss these topics with the community, also suggest content for future videos. Also, what I find funny is that many of you watch these videos over and over and over again because the algorithm spits the videos out at you, but you're not actually subscribed. So click the subscribe button and click join while you're at it. Hope the video was helpful. Stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.